Well, this is the third video that I'm doing, and maybe this ends up being a bit of a blog or so forth. I'd like to talk about DHS Polk County. Currently, the caseworker we have is Sarah Scott, and we are in the Polk County Court with Judge Norm Hill. Now, the interesting thing is that I was recently reading a decision that the judge wrote, and my wife is accused of saying things that she did not say or imply. So what I have learned is that there's almost no credibility to the court system anymore. I got a new attorney today, and if the court in the first few days of the jurisdictional trial, if they are able to say things, if they are able to allow witnesses to say things, if they are able to lie and accept lies in the court and then end that hearing and make a ruling based on those things they've construed, falsified, lied about, manipulated, then that becomes a permanent part of the record. And what they say is, we just aren't going to change that. So there goes the credibility of the court system, completely 100% without credibility. Now, the court ruled our youngest two, they've been in foster care over 5 years, and the judge has ruled repeatedly that over the last 2-3 years that DHS failed to make reasonable effort. They were told to allow the little two children to spend nights, occasional nights, visiting the farm with their mother. They didn't do that. He pointed out that they didn't do that. So what? It's just all talk at the end of the day. And so he decided that he's going to terminate parental rights to the two little children. And I seriously doubt, well, step back, the foster mom, she wants to adopt the kids, of course. Who wouldn't? They're nice, great little kids. All right. And of course, the foster mom claims to be a Christian, has no clue about the details of the case except the lies that DHS tells her. And we know they're lies because our son tells us some of the lies they tell. And those lies are always disparaging of the real parents. And that's how DHS Oregon, Dallas, Oregon operates. Jacqueline Nix, Sarah Scott, Ross Waite before Sarah, Aubrey Havercost before that. So that's what it is. So our kids are 6.5 and 8.5, and they'll grow up one day, and one day they'll find out the truth, and they won't have a very good impression of DHS, and the farm and what's there for them will still be there for them. And maybe one day the foster parents will find out they've been lied to, that only a few miles away from where they live, a mother cries herself to sleep every night about a story that they've been lied about. And maybe they're okay with that. Maybe you do everything or anything to get a little baby girl when you don't have one. And so this is sort of a mixed blog today because I want to go over a bunch of different things. Steve Wall's the attorney assigned to the little boy and the little girl, and he's done everything in his power to destroy our family. And now he's divorced, and his family's destroyed. And I would just say that as a cautionary note to DHS workers who want to destroy other people's lives and families, that what goes around comes around. You can't escape it. So if you're mean and cruel bitches at DHS, then that's going to be what your life's about. And it'll come around sooner or later. It'll find you. And it'll remember what you've done, and you won't be able to undo what you've done. It's probably not in your character to want to anyway. So I've seen the videos, these goody-goody two-shoe foster moms talking about how wonderful it is to be a foster mom and take other people's kids based on the lies the state has told you. And you're not even inquisitive enough to wonder if that's the real story. You're not inquisitive enough to think that this is a lot about money. You're at the bottom of the ladder, by the way, just so you know. There's all kinds of people making money off our two children. And I'm sure you've been paid a lot. We were not paid anything to raise our kids, but you're being paid a lot over the years, over 5 years. Add it up, please. Please add it up. How much you've paid, how much you've been paid to take care of our kids and listen to the lies of DHS. So there's this Asian woman who misses her little kids and prays every night that her little kids would come home. And I really doubt that everybody in your church added together truly has a cup of compassion. Everything's justifiable. A goody-goody two-shoe little mom talking about how wonderful it is to be a foster mom and why everybody should do it. Why don't you just come straight out and say, hey, I'm a foster mom and I'm hoping to get another woman's daughter? Because I don't have one. Why don't you just come out and say it? You've played along and you have said that you don't think the parents of the children really like you that much, but you've played along with the extremely cruel and painful game, and you have no inquisitiveness, no sense of suspect if, in fact, the whole thing's a bit of a scam and you're party to it. I mean, you have to have a little bit of jaundiced eye and say, what would a government agency doing that might be corrupt? Would they be dishonest? Would they falsify information? Is there anybody out there that has a story about what was really going on? This woman has a farm. She has a home she takes care of. She has 4 other kids that have returned home. There's no instance of any harm coming to them. And she's patiently waited for over 5 years to get her little kids back. DHS didn't have the decency to let those little kids go spend the night, even though the judge ordered it, because they wanted to adopt the little kids out because it's profitable and they thought it was okay to do. So they didn't want to be creating or seeing or witnessing any further attachment that little children have to the parents. DHS Dallas Oregon has done their utmost to alienate. I'll give you an example. In 5 years, I've had exactly 1 hour a week to spend with my little kids. I've asked for more time. They haven't given me any. And I told Sarah Scott, this is the 20-year plan, my friend. And I won't quit talking about it for the next 20 years. It's not my 5-year plan, it's my 20-year plan. It goes for everybody involved in this case. There's no escape. I will be talking about your part in the case, wherever you go in America or the world, and what you did to my little children. Now, I heard the foster mom say 2 years ago, I think it's 2 years ago, that 3 years into this case, my little girl woke up in the middle of the night screaming. 3 years after she was taken, she would still wake up in the middle of the night screaming, and she would not be consoled. That's exactly what the foster mom said. She will not be consoled. And Aubrey Havakos, which is an absolute bitch out of hell, had this little tiny piece of soul remaining that said, blurted out without hesitation, it's from the trauma of being in foster care. Well, Aubrey, you have a daughter who's just a couple of months different in age than my daughter. And don't you ever think about that? What you put another person's daughter through because of your racist viewpoint on things. This was an Asian woman's daughter, so at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. I get a pay raise and I make money and I work climbing the ladder for that $100,000 pay bracket. You got to do, can't make an omelet without breaking eggs, and you got to do what you got to do. And apparently that's your thinking because you never came clean about the whole thing going on. All right. Now, Shannon was the SSA for the first 4 years. She was an excellent, stable person who was kind to our children. I think that's about all I can say for anyone at DHS Dallas. And she resigned from that job. So DHS has no rules. They do what they want. They get Social Security money for doing it. They pretty much have unlimited money. They have unlimited excuses. And they're dishonest. And I wrote that handbook, Oregon's DHS CPS Child Trafficking Mafia, is a means of preparing you for what they're going to do to you and your children. Now, I'm not big on custody disputes where one parent's using DHS as a weapon against the other parent. I think I've heard the word narcissist like 100 million times from people, throwing it at other people, throwing it at their spouse, so forth. It's the old divide and conquer mentality. So if you want to complain against your spouse and get DHS involved, they're more than glad to join your game. And you can divorce your wife or divorce your husband, and they'll promise you that you get your kids back, but that's bullshit. You're not going to get your kids back. There's too many cases I've heard of that. So where are we now? We have a TPR decision by Judge Norm Hill. That will go to TPR trial in Polk County. We have a motion to dismiss the whole case, and that's another aspect. And we also have an appeal of the judge's ruling. Now, the curious thing is that if you were a judge, and judges have an oath of office to uphold the law in a fair manner. And I don't know if I have it in front of me, but there's there's a document here somewhere online. I read it. What is the oath of office for judges? Maybe I can find it here. Be nice if I could, because it's I prefer to read it to you than just tell you about it. Let me see here. It's Oath of office for judges in Oregon says, before entering upon the duties of a judge of the Supreme Court, we have that one, whereupon election or appointed as a judge of the Supreme Court, an oath. So we have that for judges of the Supreme Court. I think they're all pretty much the same. And it says, I, so-and-so, do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States. That should include number 14. And that I will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties of a judge of the Dallas Polk County Court according to the best of my ability. Okay. And so, that's the basic oath of office. Now, if you think that if that was the oath of office, that you would, if you got the impression that the defense or the parents were trying to enter information into the court record, that they were trying to bring out facts that would dramatically change what the court had ruled, that if you were a just judge, you would be at least curious about what those facts are. You'd say, okay, look, I want to hear it. Okay? And so if someone could present information that a witness lied, if somebody could present information that a doctor from Liberty House lied, and if they could show that, or they said they had that information, then you would be curious and just say, okay, I want to hear it. I want to take a look at it. I want to consider it. Because this is about the future of children, so I want to consider it. So we have information that never got into the court record because it was constantly blocked, because it was like under the Brady law, it was exculpatory. And it showed that somebody, multiple people, were lying. I remember I had one lawyer named Snow, and he said, family court is the court of lies. And so if you have a judge that goes along with lies, then what do you do? So that's why at this date, in February 2023, I have zero faith in the legal system in Oregon in the United States. Zero faith. Okay? They can walk in, have people lie, and take away little tiny children from their parents and keep them and adopt them out. I know lots of people that this has happened to. And we would, I don't know if you can't fix a system that's this corrupt. You have to start from scratch and start over. You can't, I mean, there's all this talk about reforming DHS. That's a load of horse shit. Nobody at DHS is going to be reformed. There are so many faceless Americans, faceless people in Salem, Oregon, in Polk County, Oregon, that have, Marion County, Oregon, that have their hands in the cash cow about foster kids. The drivers, the managers, the caseworkers, the supervisors over on Cherry Street, the supervisors over on 25th Street, downtown at the main palace of DHS, counselors, endless counselors, translators, flying in translators from Tokyo and Bangkok, the endless quantities of money for the court in Dallas, all the upper echelon, the cars, the buildings, the transport driver, the dentist, the doctor, the lawyers for each kid, the respite foster parents, the counselors for the kids. This just endless quantity of bullshit that makes money for all these people. And, I'd like to do a honorable mention for like the likes of all these state reps, these useless, impotent state reps, that they are not going to oppose a system that all their constituents have their hands in the cash drawer. They're not going to make any changes that threaten that. The kids, they don't give a crap about the kids. It's just all face talk, you know. Oh yeah, for the kids, right? Well, will they sit down and listen to your story? Hell no, they're not interested. And so the judge gets to rule what he wants. There's no one he's accountable to. The appeal courts, they're not going to rule against the judge. Now, interesting, I hear that there's some judges that nobody likes. The DOJ lawyers don't like. The attorneys don't like. The attorneys won't take a case in their court. You have counties where they don't like the judge and they try to get rid of them by having them appointed to the appellate court. And then the appellate court rejects them over and over. I mean, how's that? They don't want that person making decisions on the appellate level. They're a hothead. They're reactionary. They do whatever the heck they please. They don't look at the law and say, what's the law say? Okay? So DHS doesn't have a single thing they can point to in 5 years where there's been any violations of their visitation requirements by either the children's mom or myself. I go every Thursday, I get my hour, right? I ask for more time, I don't get it, okay? They lie to my children, tell them things that aren't true. They find fault with everything you discuss with your children. You got to be really careful that you basically don't talk about anything. You can't say, well, the rule is reunification, so we can talk about you going back to the farm. No, can't talk about that. You know, the foster parents want to adopt you. That's why you're not coming home, because they're with the court and with like Neil Clark from CASA and that guy. Why didn't he give it up, man? He has ignored evidence in this case forever, okay? Till his dying day, he's going to fight to make sure those kids grow up without their biological parents. This guy's a work of art, man. Has never visited the home as far as I'm concerned. You know, in Polk County, I've asked, you know, you've been to this woman's home. She takes great care of her kids. She cooks for them. She buys anything they want. She works really hard, takes care of everything. And you don't want her to have her kids. You use me as the excuse or whatever. I don't even live there anymore, okay? So you use every excuse. You say that, you know, she's not going to protect her kids, okay? Well, but you don't have any, in over 5 years, you don't have anything to point to that would suggest that. And so I want to ask you, could it be that you're just white in Polk County, like pretty much everybody in the court, and you never heard of ACA before? So you look down on people that are brown or Asian. That's not like new history with Polk County. I mean, you've never been able to get rid of the notion that Polk County is full of people from the... You've never been able to get rid of that notion because you're corrupt. And you actually behave in ways that are really racist. My kids experienced all kinds of racism in the schools. Okay? So those are some of the things that we notice. Is like, why are you so opposed to this family? There's people that have been on like severe drug situations. They already got their kids back. Okay, we don't use drugs. Got a nice place to live. Got 12-acre farm. That's fun. Last week, my little kid said to me, "Man, we want to go to the farm and race the ATVs around, race each other." And so maybe I'm gonna have to tell them that, you know, not until you're 18. Okay, but nobody. I'm telling you, nobody who's involved in this case will escape the facts of the case and escape the discussion of the case. Okay? So it's going to come up. And kids are going to see videos on YouTube where I talk about how wonderful Ape and Alun, my daughter and son, are, and that we did everything in our power to get those kids home, and DHS Dallas Oregon prevented it from happening, and other people like church people cooperated with that corruption. We do anything for those little kids. And they got a great place to live. They got brothers and sisters who are also not, it's not made easy for them to spend time with their younger siblings. And so I guess my question is that the foster mom is drawing on a bank account that eventually she has to answer for. She has to say, you know, I didn't know there was so much tragedy involved in this case, and I was a part of it, a willing part of it. I didn't ask questions. I didn't suspect that maybe there was a different story. A lot of foster parents have found out that they were lied to by DHS. So isn't there some tiny little part of this foster mom where she wakes up in the middle of the night and wonders, I wonder if it's all true what they said. Do our little kids go home and say, yeah, we got this and that? But I was to a CRB meeting, and all I heard from the foster mom was, the kid complains of this and complains of that. And we had a witness there, a witness with the mother at the visits to the home. And she said, bullshit. None of that happened. Those kids loved being there. So I promised my son an electric train, an old one, like when I had one as a kid, exact same thing. And so I got it for him, and he was going to visit the farm on Monday that he normally did. And I said, Monday it will be set up on the floor and it will be all ready to go. This electric chain. It's about 70 years old. What I had when I was a kid. Really great. And so, of course, they're listening to your conversations. They don't like the idea that we have good things for our kids at the farm because it makes it attractive. You know, they have a hard time beating that. They want to delete that. They want to lobotomize any fun that our kids ever had at home or at their farm or during visits. That's their goal. So Sarah Scott, the caseworker, called Monday morning and told my wife, all the farm visits are canceled. No more. And you think about what a vindictive bitch. What a boy-hating, male-hating, vindictive, sadistic, cruel bitch Sarah Scott is to do that when she knew the boy was looking forward to it. Yeah. Yeah, you know what I think of you. You're just a hoe. You're just there for the money of this job. You could give a shit about children. It's written all over your bag face, okay? She could have said, okay, we got to, for whatever reason, you know, we're going to have to do that. So we'll do that Tuesday. But we're not going to mess up that little kid's visit to his train, okay? If she had part of a soul, you know, I don't know if her daughter knows that she doesn't have a soul, knows that she would do that to a little 8-year-old boy. I don't know. So anyway, there's a lot of parents, mothers and fathers in Oregon. 8,000 kids in foster care, something like that. Average stay is 570 days. So every 570 days, the state of Oregon has to take 8,000 more kids to grow their dynasty of child trafficking, using lies to take children to make money for this entire program that makes money for so many people, okay? Now, I don't know. I have to do a calculation. I'm going to do a calculation here, mathematical calculations of times and dates. And I'm going to go as of now my wife is Thai citizen. She likes to go to Thai restaurants. And she has been able to visit Walmart, I think, twice in 5 years, twice, just down the street from DHS. And she has requested to be able to take her children, the two young ones, supervised, it's very important, to a Thai restaurant 3 blocks away from the DHS office on the main street in Dallas, Oregon, near the Wells Fargo. And she has not been able to do that in 1,899 days. She has not once been allowed to take her 2 little kids for Thai soup in a Thai restaurant. Okay, think about it. Think about the sadistic bitches at DHS Dallas, Oregon that wouldn't let an Asian woman take her kids out for Asian food. Now, one time it was agreed upon. Monday visit, they all agreed that Tuesday at 3 o'clock they would take the little girl and the little boy to this Thai restaurant. So then we got a call in the morning, my wife did, that the little girl suddenly didn't want to go. You know, the one that the foster mom wants to adopt so badly didn't want to go. And so, well, we thought that was really weird. So my wife's attorney, he called in and says, listen, if the little girl doesn't come, this was a family project. If the little girl doesn't come, we're canceling it. We're not doing it. Okay? So he canceled it. So at 3 o'clock, Jacqueline Nix, I call her Jackie the Nix, and Sarah Scott went to the home anyway and picked up the little boy and took him to the Thai restaurant. And when he got there and he asked, where's my mom? They lied to him and said, your mom's confused, so she didn't come. You're liars. You lied to my little boy and said it was his mom that was confused. No, you were bitches. You were lying bitches. That's who's confused. You're confused about who you really are. You're lying bitches. Sleep on it, okay? Because that's what you did to a little boy. You hate little boys, you know? You're just like, yeah, you know. And so they treat little boys because they're all energetic and everything. They're not like little girls. So they give them a lot of shit, right? So you have to think about people who betray the trust of a small child and lie to them all the time. We have no idea the number of lies they've told the foster mom, but I can be sure they're significant. And it's just all ongoing. So I know a lot of families in Oregon who've had really bad treatment done to them and their children by DHS Oregon. DHS Oregon is a satanic organization because they're anti-family. They try to destroy families. So what's odd is that a woman that goes to a church and is trying to adopt our children is cooperating with an organization that's extremely pro-abortion and anti-family. I mean, that's an awful lot of contradictions, honey. You better wake up and smell the poop, because it's a lot of contradictions. And one day you're going to figure out what you were a part of. And those little kids were going to figure out what you consented to and cooperated with and how you helped alienate them from their mother and father. And you're going to find it hard to live with yourself because some things aren't very forgivable. And you do that to little kids and exploit them for your own needs. Now, the counselor, Erin Daniker, said something about the foster mom is letting her needs of wanting a little girl to adopt get in the way of the situation for the children. Well, I think that's pretty obvious. And I hope one day that DHS Oregon is held accountable for their crimes against humanity. against parents, against children, against dividing families, telling women to divorce their husbands. They'll get their kids back then. Special place in hell for the people of DHS Oregon. Mafia people have more honor than DHS Oregon. So at DHS Oregon, it'll take 1,899 days and you still won't get a bowl of soup 3 blocks away. And so for all your mothers and fathers out there who are struggling to cope with what DHS Oregon does to families and the poor politicians, those impotent politicians, useless politicians who do nothing to fix the system, for all the audits and reviews and everything, do nothing. Well, do your best to cope, hold on to your faith, and hold on to, as long as you can, your children. Fight for them. And when it comes up for vote, vote against these judges, vote against these politicians, and write and do publicity, publish, put the word out there everywhere you can what these people are up to and how horrible it is for the families and the children. And that's what we can do. We can name names and tell what these people are up to. And I wish you the very best for you and your children. So just to reiterate, you're going to TPR 2 little kids that Aubrey Havercost separated out from their siblings, who were the only people beside their parents who spoke their same language, and tore them away from their mother with the help of Laurel Levine, who got herself promoted into the Salem Police Department for more money, tore them away from their mother in the middle of the night, screaming. And Laurel Levine said to one of my kids, "We're going to help your family." If she only knew. Of course, she did know. She knew exactly what she was doing. She's a hatchet woman. And so after more than 5 years, the mom runs a farm, sells clean food to a lot of people at the market, takes care of a home, helps her other 4 kids get anything they need or want, and doesn't do drugs, and misses her 2 little babies every walking, sleeping minute of her day or night for more than 5 years, goes to a different church, and the foster mom is going to feel good about what she's doing. It just really amazes me. You know, they say that America is failing because the church has become evil. It's just mind-boggling. Nobody with a straight face can justify what they're doing to these children. You have Steve Walls been jumping up and down for TPR from the get-go. They exclude evidence from the court, like photographs that show the witness was lying. They exclude evidence, and then they say, based on what they decided while they were busy excluding evidence, while they were busy listening to witnesses that were lying and saying, oh, yeah, they're credible, right? That they can just go ahead and do this and feel good about themselves. Well, it's on you. It's on all of you. Rose Carpenter, Aubrey Havercost, Jackie Nix, Sarah Scott, and a host of other people that all played along with the state agenda to supersede parents and make millions off children. Now, I can guarantee you that the state of Oregon and all the parasites who are involved in this case have made millions of dollars off our children, millions of dollars in cash flow. And I dare any one of the state workers, anybody, to come out and document and bring the number of money that has changed hands off these children. That's why if you use lies and you take children by means of lies, it's trafficking. If you do it for monetary gain, which this is, it's trafficking, child trafficking. And DHS Oregon is a child trafficking mafia.